Tiger fans, what's going on, guys? So, there's a reason why the video is a day late from typical Sunday uploads. I wanted to do, and we're going to do this year. I've never done this before. We're going to start doing monthly report cards. Basically, month by month, we're going to review everything that happened, player by player by player. Maybe pitching will be a whole, and bullpen will be a whole, but we'll touch on certain guys we need to touch on. But that's what I want to do from here on out for this year. We're going to try this out, a monthly report card. So, few things we got to touch on right off the rip. Kerry Carpenter went up, made a not a game-saving, but a home run robbing catch and hurt his right or left shoulder while going up and doing it. And he's been placed on the 10-day IL. And that's a big blow because Carpenter has by far been one of their best hitters, by far one of the best power hitters, and overall one of the best players. And Austin Meadows is now gone to the 60-day IL. I don't want to shit on Austin Meadows, but this trade, after being as headstrong and as stubborn about this trade as I've been with, giving up Isaac Paredes, who didn't do anything with the Tigers, I'm going to come out, own it, because I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. 100% wrong on this one. And it's already another lost season for Austin Meadows because last year he plays 36 games, has all those injuries, weird injuries, keeps coming back, is COVID, vertigo, pops both of his Achilles. This year, all we hear is he's healthy, he's ready to go, he's fine, plays a full spring training. They get 7 days into the season, and like I said when he went on the IL, if whatever is bothering him to that degree, there's no way that 10 days is going to fix what he was feeling, and all of a sudden, Austin Meadows is going to come out, rip-roaring, ready to go, and he's going to be a contributor for this team. I would be willing to bet that Austin Meadows plays a total. He's going to come back sometime, maybe the All-Star break. He'll come back. He'll play maybe a total of 50 games this season, and he's going to be done. And it's going to go down as one of the most, a terrible trade for the Tigers. Because Isaac Paredes is young. He's not a great hitter. And one thing Isaac Paredes had when he was in the minor leagues was a hit tool. He had a contact skill. And one thing he didn't really show in the minor leagues was power. Well, since joining the Rays, the man's hit 24 home runs, and he's accumulated over a 2 WAR. Since joining the Tigers, Austin Meadows has hit 0 home runs, and yeah. It's a trade that did not go in the Tigers' favor. It's a trade that did not work out. I don't know when he's going to be back, if he'll be back, but this has got to be it for the Austin Meadows experience this year. There's no way that Scott Harris of the Tigers front office, if they even have a bit of sense, they bring him back. I don't like to be mean. I don't like to pile on. But at the end of the day, baseball is a business. And at the end of the day, the Tigers need to put someone on the roster that's going to be there and is going to contribute, because you can't just keep giving people picking up options and stuff and then he's out on the 60-day IL after 10 games. They can't do that. So the Austin Meadows experience is this is going to be it, coming to an end. So let's quickly touch on the past week that was. The Tigers took 2 of 3 from the Brewers. They had a chance to sweep again, Tigers fashion this season. They go in. They either get swept or they almost sweep. First, this team's offense looked a little bit better in Milwaukee. Again, starting pitching has been a struggle. Michael Lorenzen and Spencer Turnbull, and we're going to touch on them in this video. I don't want to get too in depth. They take turns every 5th day. What guy's going to walk more? What guy's going to throw more pitches in third inning of a game? What guy is going to walk the tightrope longer? And it's basically been Turnbull and Lorenzen going back and forth on what guy is going to struggle through 4 the most. So they take 2 or 3 from the Brewers. And then the Orioles came in for 4. And the Tigers have played well against anyone that's not in the AL East. The Tigers, again, got 3 or 4 taken from them, from the Orioles. Again, the Orioles' reign of dominance continues over the Tigers this season. You know, last year the Tigers whooped the Orioles' ass. Then when they went into Camden and almost swept them, when the Orioles came into Comerica Park, the Tigers took care of business against them. The Tigers played them very well. This year, that Orioles team is different, man. That team is super deep, and for them to trade who they traded away last year, not even really retool and come in, that they're impressive. Adley has been a difference maker. Cedric Mullins is a stud. Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle. You know, their pitching is just good enough. Kyle Gibson has done nothing, but he carved up the Tigers the last 2 times. And the thing is the Tigers have worked at bats against them both games and drew walks. But this team is inability to hit runners in scoring, but it's maddening. Last year, the team showed no extra base power and really no ability to generate traffic because they struck out so much and didn't really draw any walks. Excuse me, this year they're finally starting to draw some walks, so they're not at the bottom in the league in walks. And they're starting to put traffic on the base pass because they have some guys that can get on base, but they don't have anyone to drive them in. Their ability to hit runners in scoring position this year is absolutely abysmal. Between the Brewers and the Orioles series, I mean, if I see another 1 for 12 with this Tigers offense, I don't know how many times we're going to see them load up the bases this year with nobody out and not score a single run. I mean, at this point, just basic math says this hitting with runners in scoring position this poorly is fucking impossible. But the Tigers have proven it to be true because they're a new low for being able to generate offense. Their offense is, a couple weeks ago, was averaging exactly 3 runs a game flat. It might be a little bit of an uptick because they did score 7 and they did score 4 the other day against the Orioles. So it might be a little bit higher, but they only scored 3.23 last year. So somehow, after the first month, their offense is worse than it was last year. But they've played a lot more tighter games because some of the starting pitching has looked better and the bullpen has really settled down. So 2 or 3 from the Brewers, the Orioles took 3 or 4 from the Tigers, and here we are in April. So let's start this monthly report card. All right, comparing last year to this year. At this point last year, the Tigers were 8-19. This year, at the same game point, they are 10-17. So the Tigers are exactly 2 wins better than they were this time last year, which means they're on pace for 67 wins. Talking about coming out of the rebuild, boys. So offense is still looking just as bad. Like I said, that what they're averaging runs per game is lower than they did last season. I don't know what they are home runs at this point to last season, but I'd be willing to go out on a limb. The Tigers are hitting a few more home runs at this point in time than they were this past last year because Maton has 4, Carpenter has 4. There's a few guys, Torkelson has 2, Green has 2, and there's a couple guys with 1 sprinkled in there like Vierling and Zach Short, who just came out of nowhere and looks like he's the only guy on the team who can hit a fastball. So let's start. Not every single person is going to be included. Like Tyler Nevin, he's not going to get a grade. I'm mainly looking at the guys who have been the main bulk of the starters and whether platoon or, gets main at bats. So we're going to start with this. Jake Rogers. Jake Rogers is going to get a B+ because Jake Rogers has already hit 3 home runs. His ability behind the plate, this is the most complete Jake Rogers has ever looked in a Tigers uniform. I know how he looked before he had Tommy John surgery in 21, and he's done nothing but carry that over. So far he's only hitting .213 with a .339 on base and a .477 slug, but he's got 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, and his at bats, between him and Haas, his at bats have looked way better than Haas, and his defensive abilities have looked way better than Haas. So that's why he's going to get a B+ because he's had some clutch home runs, he's had some big hits. He's got 8 walks to 19 strikeouts. So that's not amazing, but he's on pace to walk a little bit more he has in his career. So I'm going to give him a B+. Spencer Torkelson, he is going to get a C-. I'm not giving him a D. He's getting a C-, and here's why he's getting a C-. So his power has been very inconsistent, but this whole month we didn't see Torkelson's overall numbers. So 206, 266, 309 slash. It's a horrible slash line, and he's got a 64 OPS plus. Not great, not looking pretty. But here's why he gets a C-. Still playing a good first base, and his at-bats have looked really good. That Milwaukee series, Torkelson did nothing but murder the ball. That guy had more 110 mile-per-hour lineouts than anybody I've ever seen. That kid's luck is absolutely horrible because he was tattooing the ball. He should have had 2 home runs that series. and a few doubles, but he kept getting robbed. I mean, he has piss missiles right at people. The one thing I will say is his body language at the plate this year looks way different than it did last year. Last year, you would see Torkelson slam his bat on the ground. You could see him visibly frustrated, and his focus would waver. You would see him when guys are struggling, you're not seeing the ball well, throw 0-2 really, really fast. But this year, Torkelson, he's already drawn 8 walks, so he's walking okay. His at-bats look better. His consistency of his hard contact, his hard hit rate, and his exit velocity, he's among the best in the MLB for hard hit rate and exit velocity. So he's hitting the ball hard. You can only get Babbitt'd so much, but things to improve on. I love hard hit stats, and I love his hard hit rates. But this guy... the Tigers need him to be Spencer Torkelson. The Tigers need his bat. He is a guy that they're looking upon the future. He is a guy that was a consensus 1-1. It's fine. It took Jared Kelenic 3 years to become Jared Kelenic, what he's doing so far. And not everybody's Adley or Julio or Acuna. But at the end of the day, next month, this guy needs to have he needs to hit 5 home runs this month. And his doubles so far, he's got 4 doubles. He needs to hit his extra base power is flat out needs to improve. That's it, flat out, And he needs to stop being so passive again on pitches right down the middle and pitches on the outer third of the plate because he's trying to walk so much. And there's a lot of pitches that he had ability to do damage on, but he didn't. And he also needs to stop chasing fucking sinkers inside. Because if I watch him chase any more balls barreling on his hands, I swear to God, every Torkelson at bat's like that. But he is playing good first base. He is hitting the ball hard a lot, but it's right at people. But this month, we need to start seeing some more flashes of Torkelson being Torkelson. Jonathan Schoop, this guy gets an F. He sucks. He stinks. He's a platoon player. He is still playing a good second base. He has had a couple of good rips at the plate. His playing time is very sparse, so I don't want to be too hard on him. This is more so a grade of since 2022 last year. This guy stinks. He's a DFA waiting in the wings. He's basically the only reason why he's there is because he has potential pop off the plate, off the bench, and you can play him at second, and he's probably their best defensive second baseman still. But this guy's not very good still. 217, 294, 261 slash in 18 games. 0 home runs. He's got 2 doubles, 60 OPS plus. This guy's terrible. He's a future DFA candidate. Things he can get better at, getting the fuck off the Tigers. That's what he can get better at because this guy's a waste of a roster space. And I'd rather see Parker Meadows up here or Justin Henry Malloy. This guy's a waste of time. Javier Baez. Okay, so he is also... he's going to get a D+. And the only reason why he doesn't get an F, and he's brought it up, is because Baez, after he had that benching in Toronto, he started hitting well and then got hit in the hand in Milwaukee, and it derailed him a little bit. We have seen not much power out of him, although he did rip a couple doubles in the last week. His extra base pop is starting to look like it's there. He's had a few balls hit to the warning track. So we are starting to see it, but a month where Javier Baez, of all people, a guy that's hit 30 home runs before, he's averaged, I think, 25 home runs in his career, didn't hit a single home run this month. I mean, you got to realize this guy was 4 for 44 at one point in time. He was absolutely abysmal at the plate, but he gets a D+ because his defense has greatly improved this year. His throws to first have been better. The amount of throwing errors and defensive blunders has been a lot less. And he really has pulled his head out of his ass since he got benched in Toronto. Overall, right now, he's hitting 233 with a 286 on base and a 289 slug, which is absolutely fucking pathetic for someone that was supposed to be a lineup carrier. 0 home runs. He just got 5 doubles, and the majority of those doubles have been in the last week or two. So Javier Baez gets a D+. Nick Maton. I'm going to give Nick Maton a C. And the reason why I give him a C is he's been one of the best Tigers extra base hit guys so far. This guy's had a good ability to draw walks. He's leading the team with 12, even though he's got 26 strikeouts. But one thing that we've quickly learned about Nick Maton is he's very streaky. He had that walk-off home run against San Francisco, and then the guy went 0 for 23. But I will say one thing I like about him is that his defensive versatility is off the charts. You could play him at third. You could play him at second. You could play him at short. He's been in the outfield some. He's been all over the place. And you don't worry about him wherever you put him. And I think he's played third a lot better than anyone thought he was going to be able to play third. I didn't think he was going to be able to play third as well as he did. He has good hands. He's got a strong arm. Put him at second. He's good there too. So his defensive versatility is off the charts. And even though he's had those slumps so far where he was at 0 for 23, the guy's been able to take a walk. And the guy is able to take close pitches. What he needs to improve on is his contact consistency, because for the 12 walks that he has 26 strikeouts. And he needs to work on his consistency. And, the guy has a little bit of speed. It ain't the worst thing in the world if the guy, not always trying to lift and split. I'm really happy with the guy's extra base power and what he's done so far. He's got, like I said, he's got 4 home runs and 4 doubles. I'm really happy with his extra base power so far, because I think he only had like 7 home runs last year, and he's going to be well below past that. But he needs to improve his contact ability a little bit more. Comerica Park's a big park. He's a lefty. This park is made for lefties. Don't worry so much about trying to hit the ball in the seats, but try to get the ball in the gaps. One thing Jamer was really good at when Jamer was our third baseman is he was really good at hitting the ball in the gaps, because even with the fences pulled in, and Tyler Nevin hit the first home run, but that fence actually mattered. He hit it a 3-run shot the other day when the Tigers lost against the Orioles. He was really good at hitting the ball in the gaps, and Maton should be able to utilize that same thing. As a left-handed hitter, especially with the fence being pulled in, utilize that triples alley out there and right. But his attitude, you can tell that his teammates really like him. You could tell, he's always at Miggy's side, and there's always guys around him. You could tell he's a really cool guy. Like, his walk-up music is cool. Nick Maton just seems like a really genuinely good dude, and I like him on the team. But he needs to work on staying on an 0 for 23 slumps, not trying to lift and split every single time. Try to hit more towards the gaps, hit for some more doubles, not so much. Try to hit home runs all the time, and try to strike out a little bit less, because he does have ability to take close pitches, and he does have ability to get on. The 12 walks show it. His overall numbers aren't pretty, 171, 277, 366 slug, but the guy does have some extra base pop, and the guy can take a walk. So that's what he needs to do in the upcoming month. More contact, and try to hit for a few more doubles versus trying to hit the seats. Akil Baddoo. I'm going to give him a D. And he gets a D because he has tools, and he has been able to steal a couple bases. Let's see, Akil Baddoo has 2 stolen bases. 2 exactly. God, this team is so bad. 2 stolen bases exactly, but he's got 3 doubles. But this guy strikes out so much. He's got 37, he's got 17 strikeouts to 9 walks. Hardly an extra base power. But he gets a D because he hasn't been that atrocious out in left field. He does have an element of speed. He has had a couple of big hits so far. He has been getting on base a little bit, even though his on base is 333, which is one of the better on bases on the team. So he has been getting on base a little bit, but he has not shown any extra base power. And I think he's just another guy that's destined to get optioned to AAA. The only reason why he's there is because Austin Meadows is not there, because Austin Meadows is now never coming back from what it looks like. So he gets a D. His defense hasn't been horrible. He has been getting on base a little bit. He has used his element of speed, but he hasn't been good, and I don't foresee him being on the Tigers all year again. I think he's got a destiny with Toledo. Riley Green. He gets a D-, and that's really hard for me to do because I love Riley Green so much, but the guy's got 37 strikeouts to 9 walks. I've utilized this point, and I'm going to utilize it again. When he first got called up last year, he had 11 strikeouts to 11 walks at one point in time. He was almost 1-to-1. This is a guy that when he was down in the minor leagues could hit lefties, could hit righties, could draw walks, could steal bases. He's come up to the big leagues, and I don't know why all of a sudden, when this past year where he had this philosophy change where he was trying to lift the ball more and he was trying to hit more fly balls because he didn't want to hit the ball into the ground as much as he did like he did last year because his extra base pop wasn't as good as he wanted to see. All of a sudden, it has fucked him up. 37 strikeouts already? This is a guy that can walk. This is a guy that all he's ever done is shown good play discipline and make consistent contact in every single level. And this year he's not doing it. His defense has been great, but he's shown no ability to get on base. Let's see what his on base is. His on base is 293. He's got 2 triples, which I think is actually tied for the American League lead. He's got no doubles so far, 2 triples and 2 homers, so he's got a total of 4 extra base hits. He hasn't hit a home run in a minute since a couple homestands ago where he hit an opposite field home run. I hate doing this to Riley, but he gets it's got to be a D-. I got to be fair about this. I can't play favorites. His at-bats have been bad. He has had no play discipline. Every single at-bat has almost ended in a strikeout. He's been so aggressive. He's trying to kill the first pitch every single time. It don't matter if it's in the dirt, if it's at his hat brim. It don't matter. He's been so aggressive. He's had no plate discipline. He's not even hitting lefties like he hit lefties anymore. He's shown very minimal extra base power. The only thing that's really saved him is his defense and center has been just as good as it was last year. And I notice, and I'm very happy about this, he's not diving nearly as much. So I think the Tigers had a conversation with him about that. You know, he's trying to save his body some. But this upcoming month, he's got to get back on track. This guy needs to learn. I don't even care if Riley Green only hits maybe 2 more home runs this upcoming month. Them walks need to come up from 9, and he needs to end the month with about 25. He needs to have about 12 or 13 more walks, and he needs to strike out maybe 25 times next month. He needs to bring that down 20 times. He needs to be closer to a 1-1 than tripling it up. Simple as that. They need to keep him out of the leadoff spot. They need to keep him out of the number 2 spot. He needs to bat 6th or 7th for now. I know this team has a bunch of bums on it right now, and it hurts because he's supposed to be one of your best hitters. But they need to get him back on track. They need to get him being Riley Green again, a guy that can hit lefties, a guy that can draw walks, a guy that can steal bases, a guy that's versatile. He could show extra base pop. He's got power to all fields. Right now, striking out 37 times and pulling bat needles out of his ass because he's missing so much is not getting the job done. And I hate shitting on Riley Green, but he's been horrible the first month of the season. Matt Vierling. Okay, so Matt Vierling, I'm going to give him a C-. And the reason why I'm going to give him a C- is he's kind of another streaky guy so far. He's had a few 3-hit games. Already. He's shown some extra base pop. So he's already got 6 doubles, which is the most on the Tigers. He's got 1 home run. But he's got 6 walks to 24 strikeouts. He's actually leading the Tigers in hitting. He's got 284 average with a 341 on base, but only a 395 slugging. But he's got a 109 OPS plus. So he's going to get a C+ because he's been a good contact hitter, but he's been kind of streaky. But I will say, as bad as he was out in the outfield to start the year, his defense has really settled down. And we've seen him play some third. He played a lot of right. He's made some big catches, like he had a big catch in Houston. So his defense is not amazing out there and right in the outfield. But, you know, his defensive versatility like Maton, I love it. And you know something? He's a guy, like I said, he's kind of streaky, but he's been able to put bat on ball better than anyone on this team so far. He's been their best average hitter. He's been a guy that's been overall one of their most consistent hitters for the month. And keep in mind, guys, like when I'm saying this, just because if he gets a C+, whatever. If this was the Astros we're talking about, Matt Vierling is one of their worst players. But on the Tigers, he's one of their best. You know, this is all perspective. But Matt Vierling, he's going to get a C+. He's been by far, defensive versatility has been good, and he's been by far one of the better hitters on a team that doesn't hit. Miguel Cabrera, I'm not even giving him a grade. There's no point. We all know he stinks. We all know he's got no legs left. He's had a few. His extra base power has actually been pretty high. He's got 3 doubles already, but only 3 walks, 11 strikeouts. He was hitting 189. He's there to collect a paycheck. And I don't like shitting on Miggy. I love Miggy. I truly do. Like, this shelf behind me over here is full of Miguel Cabrera autographs. But I'm not shitting on him. He's there because he's got a paycheck to collect. That's all there is to it. Kerry Carpenter, my guy, gets a B. Kerry Carpenter, no, he gets a B+. Kerry Carpenter has done nothing but prove that last year was not a fluke. Now, his overall numbers doesn't look amazing. He's hitting 217 with a 280 on base, but he's got a 464 slug, 4 home runs, and 5 doubles already. The guy has been by far the best extra base power guy. The guy has played in a very, very good right field. For as much as I shit on Kerry Carpenter's defensive abilities and and how many people shit on his defensive abilities and saying he was never going to be a good glove guy, the guy has done nothing but he's played a solid right field. His arm has been good out there. Kerry Carpenter's played great on both sides of the ball. His average might not be that great, and he's got 5 walks or 22 strikeouts, excuse me, but 5 doubles and 4 home runs. You know, he's been a big bat in a team that don't have any big bats. Eric Haas, he gets an F. He's been pretty bad. I mean, I got to be honest, he's been really bad. Horrible at bats, striking out a shit ton. He's got 19 strikeouts to 6 walks. He's got 3 doubles so far. But I want to talk about a guy that's like lost at the plate. But I love Eric Haas. And Eric Haas kind of reminds me of Ryan Rayburn. If you guys remember, Ryan Rayburn never could hit in the first half of any season. But as soon as that calendar hit June, July, Ryan Rayburn would fucking dominate the last 2 months of the season. And Eric Haas kind of reminds me of that. Like last year, didn't really do much in the first half. Calendar touched a line, and the guy was scorching hot the rest of the way through. I have no doubts about Haas's ability. I have no doubt that Haas is going to finish the season with probably 20 home runs. This first month was a bad one for him, but I look for him to come back and make an improvement this upcoming month. And he just needs to improve on anything. He's been all right out in left field. He's called a decent game behind the plate, but he just needs to work on, not trying to murder the ball and getting that first home run. He just needs to work on being Eric Haas again, hitting doubles and making contact. And Kerry Carpenter needs to work on just getting healthy and getting back out there because they need to get him back. Zach McKinstry, another guy, gets a B. I was shitting on him at the start of the season. I'm going to eat crow. The guy has been great. He's been a very good hitter for the Tigers. He's had a couple of big hits. Dude already has 2 home runs. He's got 5 doubles, hitting 271. He's got 4 walks to 16 strikeouts, 271, 317, 458 slug. He's been a really good pickup. And, if Scott Harris can keep adding pieces like this, watch out, because that was a very under-the-radar signing that they got him. I'm not going to touch on Andy Ibanez or Zach Shorter, Austin Meadows, and those guys don't count. Okay, so let's talk about the pitching. The pitching as a whole gets an F because I'm talking about the starting staff. They have had so many starts, so many walks, inconsistency, struggling to get through 4, struggling to get through 5. Erod has been their only good starter. He had a couple of okay starts, and then all of a sudden, to end April, Erod was dominant. 8 inning, no run, 7 inning. The guy's been great. So Erod so far is 2-2 with a 2.2 ERA. And I'm hoping that Erod keeps shoving so the Tigers can, try to get something for him. I wouldn't expect the return to be amazing. But, this is a perfect opportunity to dump a contract. So you're not responsible for it for the next 3 years, because if you expect Erod to keep pitching with a 2.2 ERA, you're smoking crack. And it'd be a nice thing to dump that kind of a it's going to be a bad contract, but dump that kind of contract and let some other team deal with it, and then you go out and get another starter this upcoming offseason. So Erod's been their best starter. Spencer Turnbull, he's got a 6.84 ERA. The guy has only made one good start. His velocity's dipped in and out. He is absolutely struggling. You can tell from coming back from TJ, trying to build his arm back up. His velocity comes in and out. You'll see him at 95, 96, and then he falls to 90, 91. He absolutely has no idea where the ball's going. Doesn't know where, he can't locate for shit. Matthew Boyd, he's had starts where he's looked absolutely dominant. His changeups look great. His changeup has been an absolutely game-changing pitch for him. The swings and misses that he's generating off of it, has been outstanding. But the guy's got a 5.47 ERA, and he's had issues with walks at times, and just very inconsistent. Joey Wentz, another guy, had a couple good starts last month in April. Had a couple of bad starts. Very inconsistent with his command, but I still have faith in him because he showed well in the AFL, and we've seen flashes and glimpses of what he can be. The kid does have good stuff. Michael Lorenzen's been horrible. Showed exactly. Scott Harris signed him because he needed another veteran arm. And that happened to be the veteran arm that they get. A guy that's always been a career 3 to 4 walks per 9. He's lived up to the mantra. He was hurt for a couple of, he only made 3 starts. He was hurt already to start the year. He's been hurt a lot in his career. I don't expect a lot out of him. He stinks. Matt Manning, 4.63 ERA. He had a couple of good starts in just for the month of April. Then he got hit on his toe. Now he's going on the 60-day IL, so fuck us. The merry-go-round continues. So the rotation as a whole gets an F. But Erod gets an A because he's carried the staff by far. He's been by far the best pitcher. So the rotation as a whole gets an F, but Erod gets the exemption. He gets an A because everyone else is stunk besides him. Bullpen as a whole, I'm going to give them a B minus. And the reason why it's not higher is because they stunk for the first 12 days of the season. They were really bad, but since April 10th, they've been one of the best. Alex Lang has done nothing but look absolutely studly. He's come back out. Mr. Turtleneck himself done nothing but lockdown games. He got unlucky in Houston, got bullshit hit with Jose Abreu, and his defense fucked him, so he should have no blown saves this year. Mason Englert, talk about an awesome Rule 5 pick signing. This kid, his numbers don't look pretty. He's got a 4.91 ERA, but he's pitched a lot of innings. He's already pitched 18 innings out of the bullpen. Hinch has used him a lot, 2-3 inning roles, and he's kept a lot of ball games close. And his command's good. Jason Foley, wow. What a difference a year makes. He was good last year, but this year, his changeup and sinker combination, good luck. The guy's been good, really good. Jason Shreve, 3 home runs already given up. The guy's come out and shown ability to get some outs in tough spots, but he's also shown ability to give up gopher balls, and that's what he's done so far. Along with his buddy boy Jose Cisnero, he's got a 3.72 ERA. He's kind of settled it down, and he gave up a bunch of 3-run homers already. I think almost all of his home runs he's given up have been 3-run homers, besides one. So he's settled his numbers back down from what they were to a 3.72 ERA, and he's been better as of late. But Jason Shreve, he's been kind of up and down. We'll say that lightly by putting it nice. Tyler Alexander, he's had a couple of mop-up roles. He's done a pretty good job keeping some ball games close, but he's given up some runs, 5.28 ERA. Tyler Holton, come up from Toledo, done bang-up work so far. Dude's only got a 1.86 ERA in 9 2/3 innings pitched. Will Vest has come up from Toledo after he had that stint where he couldn't throw strikes in spring. Dude's done nothing but look like a beast since before coming back. Trey Wingenter, he's on a 15-day IL. If you want to see how his season's been, go watch what he did in Toronto when the Tigers tried to get a save. That's an interesting video. So, and Zach McKinstry, it's hilarious here on Baseball Reference because I didn't want to miss anybody, actually qualifies as reliever because there was that, I forget who they played. I think it was Boston where he came out and pitched because they were getting shit wrecked so bad. I think it was the second game of that Boston series in Detroit. So, the bullpen, if I had to give an A, individual, Alex Lang, A, Mason Englert, he's going to get a B. Jason Foley gets an A. Lang gets an A+, Foley gets an A+, Shreve gets a D, Jose Cisnero gets a D, Tyler Alexander, I'll give him a C because he's a mop-up guy and he pitches a lot of innings. Tyler Holton, he's going to get a B. Will Vest, so far he's only got 4 games, but so far in 4 games, he's been absolutely studly, so he's going to get a B so far. And Troy Wingenter gets an extreme F. And that for what the fuck was that against Toronto? Because that was pathetically bad. So yeah, that's it. The Tigers as a whole, team grade, they get a D. And the reason why it's not an F is because the reasons I stated earlier. They do have some guys on this team that are showing the Scott Harris vision, whether when it comes to controlling both sides of the strike zone. You know, their bullpen is good. Hinch has did what I said he was going to do. He's really figured out who pitches where and who is going to exceed in the best spots. And the bullpen's been good. And they've thrown a lot of strikes. But the starting staff has been really bad outside of Erod, and they have not controlled both sides of the strike zone. But they do have guys on this team that are drawing walks, and they're not the worst team in the league anymore drawing walks. They are getting on base. But what they need to improve on is hitting runners in scoring position. Because getting all these walks and these guys not striking out as much as they did, what the fuck good is it if no one's hitting him in? You know, and Miggy's not Miggy anymore. There's no one there to do the damage, and they need someone on this team to step the fuck up and start hitting with runners in scoring position, do some damage because they are getting more traffic on the base paths. You know, but how many innings have we saw this year? Zach McKinstry gets a leadoff double to start the inning. They can't even get him to third. Gary Carpenter gets a leadoff double, one out double to an inning. They can't even get him to third. How many times this year we saw bases loaded, no outs, they don't score a single run? I just don't understand it. You'll have an inning where you'll get 2 walks and a hit, load the bases, and then they don't do anything. A strikeout, fly out. They need to work on getting hitting with runners in scoring position. They need somebody to step up to start delivering big hits because they've had so many. This team, legitimately, if they would have won all the games that they should have won, just from being able to knock guys out of games and close games they lost, like that series in Toronto or a couple of those games with Houston, or even with the Brewers, this team would not be 10-17. They could have 13 wins right now. They'd still be under 500. Don't get me wrong, this team stinks, but they'd be a little bit closer to 500. They'd only be like 3 games under instead of 7. I just don't know. So as a team grade, they get a D. They stink. Their offense stinks. They don't really have anyone that's doing anything. They have a couple guys that are hitting, and they have a couple of guys in their offense as a whole being able to generate walks and get traffic on the bases looks better. But I mean, come on, Javier Baez doesn't have a single home run yet. Their ability to hit runners in scoring position stinks. Their starting staff stinks outside of Erod. So overall they stink, but they're technically better so far than last year, where the record is with the games played. So, monthly report card, guys. What do you think? I will be back next week. We're going to be back with traditional This Week in Tigers baseball, where we're going to talk about this upcoming week where the New York Mets, where Max Scherzer and JV are going to come back in and pitch against the Tigers. So there's at least one loss between those two guys, if not 2. Let's be honest here. But Scherzer hasn't looked like Scherzer, and Verlander is coming back from his injury's first Mets start, ironically, in Detroit. So, first, Tigers monthly report card. What do you guys think? What's your grades for this team? Leave your grades and below. If I missed anything, you disagree with any of my grades, disagree with any of my assessments, let me hear it at the bottom of the comment box. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll be back next week for a traditional This Week in Tigers baseball video. Go Tigers.